My now ex-husband had an affair with his coworker, who was 10 years younger than him, and she ended up going crazy. It's been 2 years since my ex-husband Rodrigo, 35, left me for his coworker Júlia, 25. I never liked her, not even before I found out they were having an affair. The first time I saw her was at a company event where he worked, and this woman had the audacity to tell me while I was at the event, "You need to improve your role as a wife, or I'll steal him from you." At the time, I thought it was absurd and even laughed nervously, but months later, she did exactly that. It wasn't enough to have been his lover. She had the nerve to show up with him to help me pack his things when he left the house. Worse still, she tried to have a conversation between women to explain how she wanted our relationship to be from then on because now she would be part of my life. What crowned this moment of humiliation was her saying, as if it were a joke, "I told you I was going to steal him." I'm not going to lie, no matter how painful it was at the time. Today I am thankful she did this because when Rodrigo, all smug, said that her brain wasn't fully developed yet because she was only 23, my disgust was so great that it turned into relief. I got practically everything in the divorce because I used his own stupidity against him. He was so blinded by the betrayal that he signed everything I put in front of him. Even so, I gave him joint custody of our daughters because, after all, they deserved a present father. I am civil with him for the sake of the children. We can be in the same environment without fighting, go to school events together, and that's it. But other than that, I have no interest in their lives. Then the July holidays came around, and Júlia came to pick up the children instead of my ex-husband. Out of nowhere, she jumped in front of me, showing me an engagement ring and saying that she wanted me to be the bridesmaid at the wedding and also wanted my daughters to participate in something that I didn't understand because I was in a hurry to take our cat to the vet. The problem is that, according to Rodrigo, she was very upset because I just answered, and went on with my life. The same thing happened 3 months later when she told me she was pregnant. Again, my total lack of interest made her angry. At the end of the year, when she opened the car door and let out a "Rodrigo is finally going to have a son," I replied sarcastically. Wow, Lord Rodrigo is finally going to have an heir to take over his lands and titles, which caused even more drama because Rodrigo's family laughed in her face when she went to complain about it. A couple of months later, when I went to drop the kids off at Rodrigo's house, I noticed that she no longer seemed to be pregnant. Then came the shock. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "We lost the baby." I didn't say anything. I just turned to Rodrigo and said that our second daughter had a birthday party the next day at 3 p.m. and the oldest had gymnastics at 5 p.m. Júlia freaked out. She yelled at me, called me heartless, took the girls' bags, and stomped off. Rodrigo stood there looking at me and said that I could have shown a little humanity to Júlia, that regardless of my feelings, she was the stepmother of our daughters. That's when I said, "Rodrigo, I don't care about what you're going through. Apart from our daughters, you two mean nothing to me, and I don't owe Júlia anything, much less pity." Well, after that, I sent a message to Rodrigo saying that due to Júlia's mental state, I preferred that he or his mother pick up the children from now on, and that if the situation got worse, I wanted the girls to stay with me full-time until the environment in their house was healthy. He tried to call me, but I said I preferred to talk by message. He insisted that he wanted to talk about our relationship from now on and even suggested family therapy with me, him, the children, and Júlia. I said that if the children needed therapy, we would find a suitable professional, but that I would not participate in anything with them. After a few hours of insisting, he realized that he wasn't going to get anywhere and gave up. Now, this is where things really get bizarre. Júlia showed up at my house. I've watched enough real-life shows to know that you shouldn't open the door to your ex-husband's lover in a situation like this, so I talked to her through the doorbell camera. And of course, I recorded everything. She was crying, saying that she was sorry and that she just wanted to be my friend. Then she started saying that I needed to forgive her because she had lost the baby and that this was a punishment for what she did to me. She was saying other things, but I could barely understand. I just kept telling her to get off my property because I didn't want to hear her anymore. But Júlia wouldn't give up. She wouldn't leave. At this point, I was already very nervous, so I called the police. Then I called my brother and Rodrigo. Júlia wasn't arrested or anything. Rodrigo said he would take her home and agreed that for the sake of the children, it was better for them to stay with me full-time. For now, my brother decided that he would stay with me indefinitely until things calmed down. I consulted a lawyer to get full custody and a restraining order against Júlia because I have a very strong feeling. I have a strong feeling that things will still get worse. Luckily, all the evidence and witnesses are in my favor, so my chances of getting full custody are good. Sometime later, Rodrigo wanted to visit the girls. I agreed because, despite everything, they still wanted to see him. He went to play with them in the backyard, and I took the opportunity to take a shower. When I left the bathroom, I was cornered by him. Rodrigo was waiting for me in the hallway. He wanted to talk. I said that this was not the time and asked him to go back to the backyard with the girls or simply leave. That was when he started saying that he had made a mistake, that Júlia was crazy, and that she wanted to come back to me and the girls. I told him to get out of my house and that we no longer existed. That was when he tried to kiss me by force. Luckily, my brother heard him and came running. Unfortunately, the children also heard him. They witnessed my brother and Rodrigo fighting badly. I was so shocked that I simply couldn't react, not even when Rodrigo was taken away or when my daughters started crying. I couldn't move. I couldn't say anything. This was not my best moment as a mother. After all, I seriously thought about filing a complaint for sexual assault against Rodrigo, but his family got in touch and proposed a deal. If I gave up on the process, he would give me full custody of the girls and a significant amount of money to guarantee their future. I accepted, but with one condition. He would have to leave the country. The only contact he could have with the girls would be one video call per month with each daughter who wanted to talk to him. If, in the future, they decided they wanted to keep more contact, I would allow it. He agreed. Since then, I haven't heard from him. The only thing I know is what I see on social media. According to Júlia's posts, Rodrigo disappeared. He took the money her father gave him to pay for the wedding and left. As for Júlia, I couldn't get a restraining order against her. Apparently, the law only considers a person a threat when they do something more serious. Even after showing up at my house and at the children's school several times, no one did anything. Apparently, this is all fine in the eyes of the law. We are going to move from here, and I am not even going to give a clue as to where or when. Júlia exposed our entire story on the internet to try to embarrass me, and now everyone in town knows what happened. I would rather disappear for good. My daughters are not dealing well with all this. They hate their father, but at the same time, they miss him. It's a huge emotional mess for children to deal with. I put them both in therapy, and I hope that with time, they can heal. Well, I'm also in therapy. After everything I've been through, I realized one thing. I never want to get married again. In fact, I never want to be in a relationship again. I want to be that mysterious woman who lives alone with several cats and who the neighborhood kids swear is a witch. Because honestly, why the hell do we let society fool us into believing that marriage is better than a cozy life surrounded by cats? Oh, and Júlia, I wanted to thank you for stealing my husband. You did me the biggest favor in the world. Now, here's another dilemma. I found out that my boyfriend is cheating on me, and I have the chance to expose him by putting a picture of the two of us in the video that will be shown tonight. Should I do this or walk out of his life gracefully? Hello, I'm 25 years old and I've been dating my 28-year-old boyfriend for 3 years. I found out he's been cheating on me. Well, I'm not going to go into all the painful details of our relationship. We were in love, and I still love him, but I found out that he clearly doesn't love me. I found proof that he's been cheating on me. A while ago, I found little home videos of them. I don't know the girl, and from what I saw of their conversations, yes, I went snooping after the discovery, she has no idea I exist. Tonight will be the biggest night of my boyfriend's life. He's receiving a state award at a big dinner with a few hundred people present, from his parents to councilmen and everything else. In fact, the only reason I found out about this betrayal is because I was preparing a video for him with some of the most important moments of his life. You know, those emotional cliché things. I'm carrying a great power in my hands right now, and I don't know if I have the strength to do the right thing or if I even know what the right thing is. I'm blinded by tears of anger, sadness, and betrayal, but at the same time, I love him. I loved him. And do I really want to do this? The relationship is over. There's no doubt about it. I'm not the type of woman who accepts being cheated on. Definitely not. That's not the point. The point is, there are several cute selfies of the two of them. Many of them only shared between them. Nothing obscene, although there's a lot of that in the footage. Should I put one of these photos in the video as a way of letting him know I know? Or will I just walk away, and after his moment of glory, confront him? I won't just pack my things and leave and cut contact. That's not my style, and it wouldn't make me feel good. It would just make me very sad. Will I do this evil thing for the first time in my life? To anyone else, it will just look like a picture of him with a friend, but to him and me, it would be a private message, an exposure. Now, what do I do? Update. Well, it's been a month and a half since all this happened. I've received many requests to give an update, and honestly, I never intended to do it because I was afraid of the consequences depending on what I ended up deciding. So what I did was immature and vengeful, but I don't regret it. I took some discreet pictures of the two of them. Pictures that didn't give any indication, other than that she could be a childhood friend. I put those pictures in the video. I said good things about him on stage, and when I finished my part, I left. I drove home feeling calm and in control. 20 minutes later, the messages started coming in. Where did you go? What do you know? Where did you find those pictures? Do you have more stuff stored? I texted him saying, I know you're sleeping with her, but there are no more pictures, and there really weren't. Of course, I left it at that. He didn't come home that night or the next night. The next day, he called me asking if we could meet in a public place. I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop. I got there early and waited for him. He showed up a few minutes late and sat in the chair across from me. He started right off with his apologies, saying it just happened, that he was really sorry, that she didn't mean anything to him, and that she looked like a girl he had a crush on in high school, and he was unable to resist his teenage self. I didn't interrupt him. I just let him talk. When he finished and looked at me waiting for some sign of what might happen, all I could say was, so where did you stay the last few nights? At her place. And what did you guys do? He didn't answer. There was no doubt in my mind. Seriously, I knew I was going to leave him. He kept justifying himself, apologizing, begging for forgiveness, saying he would change. I told him I didn't want him to change, that if he was naturally someone who cheated on his girlfriend, then that wasn't the person I wanted to be with. He said he was thinking about proposing, and all I could say after that was, thank goodness I found out before. Fast forward a few weeks, he moved, and I'm fine. We cut contact. People ask me about him all the time, and I just say, he left me for a girl who looked like his high school crush, so that's the end. We are done. We are never, ever getting back together. I have no regrets for the way I handled the situation. Like one commenter said, there is no need to always take the high road. So, those were today's stories. What would you do if you were in their shoes? Tell me here in the comments because I really want to know your opinion. If you liked hearing these stories and want to hear more, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive notifications of future videos. Here I tell you and you believe it.